My name is Jamie C. Pollock, and I am 38 years old. I'm an architect. My life is about structure, plans, and making sure foundations are sound before anyone even thinks about the windows. I apply that logic to everything, which is why this whole situation feels like discovering a fatal flaw in my own building's blueprints. My boyfriend of 5 years, Marcus, 35, and I built what I thought was a solid life. We lived in my apartment. I own it. We talked about the future, rings, timelines, the whole 9 yards. He's a social media manager, very online, very curated, very concerned with projecting success. I'm quieter. I like old books and quiet nights. Opposites attract, I guess, until they don't. About 2 months ago, I started feeling off. A bone-deep exhaustion coffee couldn't touch. Then I found a lump in my neck while shaving. Small, hard, painless, but unmistakably there. I'm not a hypochondriac, so I booked a doctor's appointment. I told Marcus. He barely looked up from his phone. Probably a swollen gland, he said. You've been stressed with the new project. The doctor wasn't dismissive. His face went neutral in that way that's more terrifying than panic. He used words like concerning and biopsy. I left the office feeling like the floor had turned to sand. I sat in my car and texted Marcus. Doctor is worried. They're scheduling a biopsy ASAP. Pretty scared. I watched the 3 dots appear and disappear for a full minute. Then the reply came. Jamie, it's always something. Your cancer scare is just drama. Man up. We have the resort deposit due Friday, remember? Focus on what's important. I read it once, then twice. Drama, man up, the resort deposit. That was what mattered, not the possibility that my body was actively trying to kill me. Something in my chest didn't break. It went cold, like a switch flipping. No yelling, no tears, just clarity. When an architectural drawing reveals a structural impossibility, you don't argue with it. You discard it and start over. I replied with 2 words. You're right. He sent back a thumbs up emoji. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I went to a coffee shop with my laptop and pulled up the portal for my life insurance policy. It's a significant policy, $750,000, enough to make sure that if the worst happened, the person left behind would be secure. The beneficiary was Marcus. I clicked Edit Beneficiary. My mind went to the nurse who had taken my blood a few days earlier. His name was Adam Sharma. He'd seen the tremor in my hand as I filled out paperwork and waited without rushing me. When he finished, he put a hand on my arm and said, "Whatever the results are, you've got this. Be kind to yourself." It was small, professional, and it was the only genuine human compassion I'd received all week. I didn't know his last name then, so I called the clinic and asked, politely, for it. Back on the portal, I typed Adam Sharma. Relationship? Friend. Clinic address for contact. I confirmed, entered the 2-factor code, and watched the green check appear. Your beneficiary has been updated. That afternoon, I went in for the biopsy. It was uncomfortable and terrifying. The oncologist was kind and direct. Results in a week. Marcus never asked about it again. He planned the vacation, sent me infinity pool photos, complained about a friend's tacky wedding theme. I nodded along. I was an observer in my own life. Yesterday, my phone rang. The oncologist asked me to come in. I already knew. Stage 3, Hodgkin's lymphoma. The prognosis is good, 80 to 90% survival with treatment, but the road is brutal. Chemo, radiation, sickness, hair loss. I sat in my car for an hour afterward, in the same spot as before. I thought about the policy. I thought about Adam's quiet kindness, and I thought about Marcus's text. Your cancer scare is just drama. Man up. The scare is over. The drama is just beginning. And I have, in fact, taken responsibility. I just don't think Marcus is going to like how I did it. It's strange how quickly your world can shrink. Mine collapsed into 3 places: my apartment, the oncology wing, and the grocery store aisle where I stood staring at soup cans because everything tasted like metal anyway. Chemo is as awful as people say. The first round hit me like a freight train. Not just nausea, but a bone-deep fatigue that made walking from the bedroom to the couch feel like a marathon. I told Marcus the night I got the diagnosis. I sat him down on the couch he picked out, The one that looks good on camera and feels like sitting on a brick. We need to talk, I said. I got the biopsy results. One sec, he said, still scrolling. My cousin is melting down over her caterer. Marcus, I said. He sighed like I'd asked him to move mountains and toss the phone aside. What's up? It's cancer, I said. Stage 3 lymphoma. I watched his face carefully, waiting for fear, sadness, anything human. Instead, I saw calculation. The first words out of his mouth weren't, "Are you okay?" or "I'm sorry." They were, "Oh my God, so the vacation is off." I stared at him. Yes, Marcus, the vacation is off. Well, we're going to lose the deposit. That's over $1,000, Jamie. That cold calm washed over me again. I think we have bigger problems than a resort deposit. Then he pivoted. He scooted closer, put a hand on my knee, lowered his voice. Oh, baby, of course. I'm just in shock. We'll get through this. We'll fight it. You're not alone. The word we sounded foreign, like he'd borrowed it for the scene. He'd been distant when I was scared. Now that there was a real crisis, a narrative he could center himself in, he was suddenly all in. For a few days, I let him perform. He made a show of blending me a kale smoothie I couldn't keep down. He posted a vague caption on Instagram with a filtered photo of us from last summer about facing life's challenges together. The likes poured in. So strong. Power couple. He was thriving. Then finances came up, casually, as if they always had. We should make sure our ducks are in a row, he said one evening. Your will, your insurance, everything should be clear. I've handled it, I said. His face brightened. Good. My name's on everything, right? I mean, as your partner, it should be. I took a sip of water, my mouth dry from the meds. I updated my life insurance policy. Yes, he said, beaming. Smart. The sole beneficiary is now a man named Adam Sharma. The smile froze, melted. His eyes went sharp. What? Who the hell is Adam Sharma? He's a nurse, I said evenly. He was kind to me when I was terrified, and you told me to man up. I've never seen a face change so fast. Concern evaporated into rage. His voice dropped, stripped of its public-friendly tone. You did what? Yes, I said. You're insane, he snapped. You're going to leave $750,000 to some random guy you met once. After 5 years, he continued, pacing now. That money is for our future. It's for me. If something happens to me, I said, you made it very clear what was important. The resort deposit, not me. I adjusted my priorities. He stood up so fast the couch shifted. This is because you're sick. Your brain isn't working right. The chemo is making you crazy. I'm perfectly lucid, I said, and our relationship is being terminated. He laughed, sharp and disbelieving. You can't just do that. I can, I said, and I am. You have 30 days to move out. I'll pay for movers. What followed was epic. He screamed. He cried. He accused me of cheating with the nurse. He threatened lawyers. He told me I was ungrateful, cruel, heartless. I sat there too tired to fight, letting it wash over me like static. When he ran out of steam, I said one sentence. 30 days. The clock started tonight. He's still here for now. The apartment feels toxic. He alternates between resentful silence and sudden saccharine attempts to be the perfect caregiver. See, he'll say, fluffing a pillow. I'm here for you. Don't I deserve to be protected? I turn the page of my book. He doesn't understand. This isn't a negotiation. It's a demolition. The foundation was rotten. I'm just tearing the whole thing down. The 30 days came and went, and Marcus was still there. He didn't pack. He didn't look at apartments. Instead, his strategy evolved. Rage hadn't worked. Tears hadn't worked. So he pivoted to something quieter and far more dangerous, undermining my credibility. It started with phone calls I didn't ask for. His mother rang one afternoon, her voice thick with artificial concern. Jamie, honey, Marcus is so worried about you. He says the treatments are changing you, making you impulsive. Maybe you shouldn't be making big financial decisions right now. My cognitive function is intact, I said calmly, and my finances are not your business. I hung up and added her number to the block list. Then came his brother, Damon. He showed up unannounced one evening while Marcus was out running errands. I was on the couch, weak and nauseous from chemo, when the door opened and Damon walked in like he owned the place. He carried himself like a lawyer in a cheap suit, all confidence and pressure. Jamie, we need to talk woman to man, he said, sitting without being invited. I'm not up for this, I replied. You're screwing over my brother, he said flatly. He stood by you. And now you're having some sick fantasy about a nurse. You need to sign a durable power of attorney over to Marcus so he can protect your assets from yourself. He slid a printed form onto my coffee table. The audacity was breathtaking. I laughed, a thin, wheezing laugh that surprised even me. Get out of my house, I said. You're making a mistake, he warned. We can have you declared incompetent. Then file the paperwork, I replied, and have your lawyer explain to a judge why a licensed oncologist keeps clearing me for consent. Now leave. He did, but the encounter rattled me. The next morning, I had a new deadbolt installed, one with a keypad. I gave Marcus written notice that his key no longer worked and that he had 48 hours to vacate before I would consider him a trespasser. That should have ended it. Instead, it escalated. 2 days later, I came home from treatment to find Marcus packing boxes. Relief washed over me until I walked past my study. The door was ajar. The shelf where my collection lived was empty. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might faint. I collect vintage sci-fi pulp magazines from the 1940s and 50s. They're not just collectibles. My grandfather introduced me to them when I was a kid. They're my one real indulgence, my connection to him. They're also valuable, around $40,000 for the full collection. Marcus, I said, my voice dangerously calm, where are my magazines? He didn't look up from taping a box. I put them in storage for safekeeping. Where? I repeated. You're not well, he said, patronizing. You might sell them for nothing. I'm protecting your assets. You'll get them back when you change the beneficiary on that policy back to me and apologize. There it was, the truth stripped bare. He had taken my history hostage for money. I felt something inside me snap, not in anger, but in clarity. I took out my phone. You have 60 seconds to tell me where my property is, I said, or I'm calling the police and reporting felony theft. The collection is valued well over the grand larceny threshold. You wouldn't, he scoffed. I'm a woman with stage 3 cancer and a very clear understanding of priorities, I replied. These magazines matter. You do not. 50 seconds. I started a timer. The numbers ticked down. His smugness drained into panic. At 15 seconds, he cracked. They're in a storage unit. Lock it up on 7th, Unit 218. I was just trying to make you see sense. I recorded that, I said, holding up my phone. Then I sent him the file. Your things need to be out by noon tomorrow. A locksmith will be here at 12:01. If you or your family contact me again, I'll pursue a restraining order. We are done. That night, I didn't sleep. I researched eviction law, restraining orders, and small claims. For weeks, cancer had made me passive, reactive. This woke me up. I wasn't going to let him steal my life in pieces. The morning after my ultimatum, Marcus was gone by noon, not quietly, not graciously, but efficiently, the way someone leaves when they know the clock has finally run out. The locksmith arrived at 12:01 exactly. I watched from the kitchen chair as the old locks came off and the new ones slid into place, the soft mechanical click sounding like punctuation at the end of a very long sentence. But Marcus didn't give up his leverage so easily. He refused to hand over the key to the storage unit. He thought he still had me cornered, that the threat of losing something precious would soften me. It didn't. I filed in small claims court the same afternoon. I came prepared. Original receipts for the rarer magazines. A certified appraisal from 2 years prior, valuing the collection at $41,250. The audio recording of Marcus admitting he took them and tied their return to changing the insurance beneficiary. Text messages demanding them back. A clean paper trail. The hearing was almost anticlimactic. Marcus represented himself. He argued that he was a concerned partner, safeguarding assets from a mentally compromised patient. His mother sat behind him nodding vigorously, clutching her purse like it contained moral authority. The judge listened patiently, then leaned forward and asked Marcus a single question. So you took property valued over $40,000 from its legal owner without permission and refused to return it unless she transferred money to you. I was just trying to help, Marcus said weakly. That's not help, the judge replied. That's theft. Judgment for the plaintiff. Full appraised value plus court costs. 30 days to pay or collections would begin. The look on Marcus's face was worth more than the money. The judgment became a lien. Every future credit application would remember me for him. He surrendered the storage unit key 2 days later. I went myself to retrieve the magazines, my hands shaking as I opened the door and saw the familiar archival boxes stacked carelessly in the corner. Everything was there, intact. I cried right there on the concrete floor, not out of sadness, but relief. I brought them home and placed them back on the shelves, one box at a time, restoring order the way I knew how. Then my body surprised me. A month after my last chemo round, the PET scan came back clean. No evidence of disease. Remission. The word felt fragile and holy, like glass you don't touch with bare hands. I'm not cured. I'm healing. But for the first time in a year, I wasn't bracing for impact. I was moving forward. Marcus tried one last time. He ambushed me outside my building, thinner now, the curated confidence cracked. He cried. He said he was scared. He said he still loved me. He said the insurance money was still there, right? And we could start over now that this miracle had happened. I felt something close to pity, fleeting and distant. The life you want was never real, I told him. You didn't love me. You loved what I could provide. When I faced death, you saw a spreadsheet. I wish you well, but my life is no longer your concern. I stepped around him and went inside. That was the last time I spoke to him. As for Adam Sharma, the nurse, I went back to the clinic on a day I wasn't a patient. I told him the truth about the text, the diagnosis, and the impulsive insurance decision. I told him I was ready to change it if he wanted. He listened, then smiled gently. Keep it, he said. Live a long, boring, happy life, and make sure I never see a cent. Deal. We've had coffee a few times since. Just coffee. No romance. A solid friendship built on kindness and boundaries. That's all I need right now. The beneficiary remains unchanged. Not as revenge, but as a promise to myself. I plan to live so long and so well that the policy becomes irrelevant. I rebuilt my routines, my strength, my apartment. The fortress I live in now isn't made of denial or performance. It's built on truth, documentation, and the quiet confidence that comes from choosing yourself when it matters most. He told me to man up. I did. I just did it my way.